It's a real puzzle. How can the most expensive soccer player in history, a guy with just jaw-dropping talent, also be seen as, well, a story of unfulfilled potential? It's the great paradox of Neymar Jr., and today we're going to try and piece it all together. And this quote, it just nails it. This feeling he had, that he was always destined for more, to be the main man. That one single ambition, it's what fueled everything, his entire career. And it's what led to the one decision that changed everything. So to really get why he left, you have to first understand what he was leaving behind. And trust me, it was paradise. We're talking about a time when he was at the absolute peak of his powers, part of what many people still say was the greatest attacking trio, maybe ever. 122. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many goals Messi, Suarez, and Neymar scored in their first season together at Barcelona. I mean, come on. This wasn't just a front three. It was a force of nature. Everybody knew them as MSN. And the success, it was just immediate and, frankly, overwhelming. That 2015 season, they won it all, the treble. And look, Neymar wasn't just some passenger along for the ride. No way. He was a huge part of it, finishing as the joint top scorer in the Champions League, right alongside Messi and Ronaldo. He was on top of the world. And then came this moment, the legendary remontada against PSG. It was his masterpiece, an all-time great performance where he basically single-handedly dragged his team back from defeat. This should have been his coronation, right? But ironically, this moment of ultimate triumph, it's what started the countdown to him leaving. So it's the big question, right? Why would anyone walk away from a situation that perfect? Footballing paradise. Well, to get the answer, we have to go way back. We need to understand the fire that drove him, a fire that was lit long, long before he ever made it to Europe.
Yeah, this story doesn't start on the perfect grass of Camp Nou. It starts on the tough streets of Sao Paulo, Brazil.
This is a story Neymar himself tells, and man, it says everything about the kind of poverty his family was dealing with. His dad's own soccer career was cut short, so for Neymar, the game wasn't just a game. It was everything. It was the only way out. So his whole childhood was this wild mix of real hardship and this almost mythical sense of destiny. I mean, he survived a car crash that should have been fatal when he was just a baby, and his dad saw that as a sign that his son was blessed for greatness. So that pressure to be the one, not just for his family, but for all of Brazil, it was part of his story from day one.
And you know what? He absolutely delivered on that promise. He became a total sensation at Santos, earned that dream move to Barcelona. But when he got there, he found himself playing next to a living god of the game. So just think about that for a second. He puts in this heroic man-of-the-match performance in one of the greatest games ever played. And the next day, he wakes up, and every single newspaper cover, every headline is about Lionel Messi. And that was it. That was the moment he knew deep down that it didn't matter what he did at Barcelona, he was always going to be in Messi's shadow. And that feeling of being the brilliant prince who could never be king, that's what pushed him. It led him to make a decision that didn't just change his career, it completely broke the entire transfer market.
222 million euros. That's a number that still sounds insane today. It's what PSG paid to get him in 2017, and it didn't just break the transfer record, it obliterated it. It was more than double the previous record. A price tag so huge, it basically changed the economics of the sport forever. So that was the gamble, right? It was a massive, massive bet on himself. The whole point was crystal clear. Get out from under Messi's shadow, become the one and only star, and lead a team to glory, winning the biggest trophies for the team and for himself. So now he's the guy. He's the face of this massive project in Paris, the king of his own kingdom. But that fairy tale ending he was dreaming of? Yeah, it never quite happened. I mean, look, he won a bunch of trophies in France, for sure. But the two big ones, the two he actually left Barcelona to get, the Champions League and the Ballon d'Or, they always stayed just out of reach. And what's worse, these brutal injuries kept hitting him at the absolute worst times, year after year. And then, in the most ironic twist you could possibly imagine, history repeated itself. A new, younger French superstar exploded onto the scene at his own club, Kylian Mbappé. The exact same shadow he'd spent 222 million euros to get away from, well, it found him all over again in Paris. So after 6 years in Paris, he leaves Europe altogether for Saudi Arabia. And that move, it really felt like the end of an era, almost like admitting that the big gamble didn't pay off. And now, a serious knee injury has put his career on hold, which leaves all of us asking that one big question. What is his legacy? Okay, let's be clear. The achievements are incredible. He's Brazil's all-time leading goal scorer, passing Pelé. He's won the Champions League, Olympic gold, tons of trophies. He's a global icon. But his career is just as defined by the what-ifs. Because the very trophies he left Barcelona to win on his own terms are the exact ones that are still missing. And it's not just us wondering. Even his old teammates, his friends like Luis Suarez, they asked the same thing. What if he had just stayed? Would the story be different? If he had just been patient in that football paradise, would the crown eventually have been his? And that leaves us with the ultimate question of his career, doesn't it? For a while there, he was the undisputed prince of world football. But in his quest to build his own kingdom, did he sacrifice his best chance to ever actually wear the crown?